Well guys, we're here on 20 Mile. We got Pops, brought our fishing gear, brought our camera gear, and we're just gonna have a good day.
All that jet ball.
Yeah.
These are the Cascade. 20 Mile Cascavele.
You're not really gonna wade up through the stream in that. It's literally like a waterfall. I mean,
a young man could do it if he took his time, but years ago there wasn't nearly so much deadfall. I imagine there was this rhododendron overhang. I just don't recall it that much. It seemed to me it was more open, more photogenic, and I mean, if you wanted to climb that, you could. I don't believe I did. I'm sure I climbed out of here. But I would have taken pretty much that whole segment from the ranger station up to here.
yeah.
Stayed in the stream for the most part, I think. Because you notice there weren't a lot of places along here you could get up and out if you wanted to.
A lot of people don't know this, but it's basically a rainforest here in the Smokies. The humidity, especially in the summer like this, it's pretty wild. But we just got started and I'm already, look at this, dripping. That is a pretty sight right there.
Yeah.
Boom. All right, good luck, Pops.
Ciao.
All right, I'm gonna put in right here. Pops is gonna go down a little bit and I'm gonna work my way up towards this. There's a bridge further up there. But first of all, we need to find a nice little home base. Got our felt on, strapped onto our boots. Slip resistant. My dad and I didn't bring any waders today, and we know this is definitely cold water, but it is just a swamp rainforest out here, so honestly, it should feel pretty good. Part of what was really cool about coming out here is back in the 90s, mid-90s, he came out here for a week on this trail, and he fished the whole thing for a week. He did a whole loop out here in the Smokies, and this is kind of a little revisit for him after so long. And on top of that, the pole he brought is actually the same pole he used back then. So, but pretty cool. Happy to be out here, and just kind of want to spy on him as he kind of reconnects with this stream. So, anyways.
As I walk out and get warmed up in this first pool, I try to imagine what it would have been like being out here 25 years ago, before all the hurricanes and downfall, and also remember that this place is where my dad found peace of mind. A thought that should keep me in check every time my line gets caught in overhanging rhododendrons. I spent about 20 minutes in this first pool using a parachute Adams. It's one of my favorites just because you can see it floating on top. There's something that feels quite nice about being able to watch your fly kind of float downstream a little bit, but didn't see any movement, and I'm not sure if that's because I spooked the fish early on or they're just not interested in the Adams.
So apparently, while I was not lucking out on this first pool with the dry fly, my father, yeah, hey, look at that. So you put a bead head on there.
You got to. You got to get it down. Fish are holding deep because it's murky and fast, and so they're going to feed off of what floats on the bottom, which is what a wet fly does.
Right.
As soon as I put a couple of casts in with that dry, I'm saying, what a meathead. They're not going to even see this thing. It's stupid. So, so I wasn't fishing more than maybe 10 minutes, fussing around, and yanked them right out of there.
Jealous. Okay, we're gonna try that. This is what we're gonna try. Oh, let's see that little bead at the top there. Let's give her a go.
So one of the things that I really like about streams like this is that there is a ton of downfall and overhang. So you're not using these big Montana casts like you typically would in a place like Deep Creek or, you know, out west. And so as you see here, I'm using this bow and arrow technique, and I just, like right here, boom, just get my first hit of the day. You know, I did a couple in there and didn't like it, and then, you know, I wasn't able to set the hook and get that fish on. But whenever I have a moment like that, it feels like, wow, like I really tried to get that fly in there in that little hole. There's no way you're casting in there under typical conditions, right? So the bow and arrow is the only option. And then when you get a fish to hit, it feels amazing. Now the downside is if you get caught because it's so tight in there, you know, you're gonna have to walk up and get your fly back, which is gonna scare all the fish. So, you know, in this circumstance, I was able to get a hit before I got stuck, which is nice. But there've been plenty of times where my first cast in a hole and I'm stuck, and now I have to walk into the hole and scare all the fish. So
we swapped to the nymph, we climbed up that waterfall there, and there are just maybe 4 pools in there that really you can't even cast. You have to use the bow and arrow tactic, which is my favorite cast, to be honest. And in each pool, the very first cast with that nymph, just 5 to 7 incher, just hit it. So 4 different fish went for it. The only bummer is they all missed it. I didn't snag any of them. And so Dad and I were gonna move south, find a couple new spots. And I think the first thing I'm gonna do is swap to a smaller nymph, because I think it might be a little bit too big. So look at all this damage from the boars just out here. Okay, we found Dad. He was up a little bit from us. We're gonna bust out the nice camera and see if we can get some nice shots of him doing his thing. Being a fisherman, you know?
Put a little dap on this dude. You know, this is the first one I ever bought, and I still got it. Damn thing's 30 years old.
Fishing here, you gotta like fishing, and you gotta like bushwhacking.
for the rest of the afternoon, Dad and I walked downstream looking for good spots to safely get access to the stream, and to my surprise, it was for the most part very tough to get down to. In some spots, even joking that we'd need rappelling gear to make it happen. For the next several hours, our short casts and the hope of a trout flashing were all we needed to turn this into a great afternoon. In the end, Pops caught himself 2 5 to 6 inch rainbow trout, and the closest I got to fish were those 4 hits from earlier. A humbling result, but definitely motivating in terms of me wanting to come back.
The man caught 2 fish and thinks he can just sleep on the stream the rest of the time? That's living large. So it was a tough day, but ultimately though, it was a great time just being out here with my dad. You know, he's told me about coming out here to fish so many times. So this is the first time we've ever, as adults together, you know, been able to come out here and make it happen. So I feel really good about that. And you know, honestly, it's a perfect day for it. So glad we tried. And he caught 2 fish, so you know, he's sitting quite nice. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. We'll see you on the next one.